check. Today on First Cup, we're talking about things that we love and the release of possibly the biggest podcast episode we've ever done. So stick around. Rolling in 10. Got coffee. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Today's Monday. It's February 14th, 2022. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. I think this is also going to count as my Valentine today. This cup of coffee. Well, the cup in general. Good morning, Ray. Good morning, all of you, whether you're watching live later, listening, or maybe having it signed to you by someone who has too much time on their hands. Thanks for joining me. Morning, Jenny. How about that Super Bowl? Did you watch? The game was fine. I'm glad it was a clean game. Little in the way of penalties, little in the way of fighting. I want to send my condolences to the city of Cincinnati because they all really thought it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought it was, anytime anyone, an organization, a person puts that much pressure on themselves, it becomes really hard to perform. That's tough. But, the Rams playing in their hometown with a halftime show from their town, it was kind of a big deal. So glad they made it happen. Good morning, Mark and Dennis. All right. Good morning, Liz and Andrew. Ray says, congratulations to Zyler, Andy, and everyone else who participated in the belt promotion this weekend with Master Kelly Thomas. Yes, congratulations, everyone there. Dennis says, Monday already, grumble. Ooh. Dennis needed some more sleep. I want to thank Tachi Mark for hosting me at his school this weekend. I had a great time on Saturday working with the students. We had a great meal after. It was a lot of fun. Got a good crew. Jenny says, I'm curious to know how you're feeling about the halftime show, too. That's more your musical style than mine, but I enjoyed it. I'm going to be writing something up that'll probably go out later today. I loved it. I didn't love it for the reasons that I think a lot of people are going to have enjoyed it or not enjoyed it. To me, it had very little to do with the music. It had to do with where... Here's the short of it. Dr. Dre released his first album in 1992. I was 13. I bought it soon after release. Hip-hop music was incredibly important during my teenage years. And to see so many people that I had looked up to as a kid featured on probably the biggest stage on earth, right? It was pretty powerful. There were some parts I thought that were really interesting. I think my favorite element, and most of you probably didn't get this because you would not only have to know the music, but who the person is and what they look like. But when they cut back up top and they had the band, you may have noticed the guy extremely excited to be playing the drums. That was Anderson Paak, who's a musician and a very bizarre musician. I'm not a huge fan of his music, but I loved how excited he was to be playing the drums. Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments. but it was good. I'm glad I watched it. Went over to a friend's. It was three of us, her and her significant other, and the three of us were watching. Had a good time. Ate some good food. There were dogs all over the place, so I was petting dogs and watching football. I think some of the commercials were actually quite good. Usually there are a few that are quite good. Uh, the one with James Earl Jones and Leslie Jones and Rashida Jones, the Toyota Tundra commercial. That was creative. Thought it could have been done a little better, but it was good. So what else happened this weekend? So Friday I was in New Hampshire, did some Superfoot training, hung out with Craig, went to Mark's on Saturday, drove home Saturday night. Yesterday was not wasn't much to talk about. I picked up around here. I dealt with plants, did dishes, cleaned up some things, got some more stuff together for going away. Vacuum. Pretty simple day. Then went to the gym for a little while, went to the grocery store, went to the football. So today, I've hinted at this quite a bit. Today marks the release of definitely one of, depending on how you look at things, arguably the biggest, at least one of, if not the biggest episode we've ever done on Martial Arts Radio. And I'm not quite sure how I would even define that. What's the biggest episode? Is that based on fame of the guest? Is it based on numbers? Who knows? Frank Dukes. Today's episode is with Frank Dukes. Now, if you don't know that name, there's a good chance you're like, I think I know that name. Why do I know that name? If you don't know who that person is, you probably know who that character is. Frank Dukes is Van Damme's character in Bloodsport. The movie and the character are based on Frank Dukes, the person. And the question of how much reality was taken and implemented in the movie versus how much fiction is a matter of controversy. And that is part of what has led, I think, the real Frank Dukes to be discussed so strongly in some martial arts circles. People like controversy. He certainly is a controversial figure because his assertion is that what happened in the movie is pretty close. I shouldn't use those words because those are not his words. He asserts that what happened in the movie is closer to the truth than some others around him. And we'll leave it at that. I had a great conversation with him. Yeah, thanks, Brian. Brian says, Tommy Lee Jones, not James Earl Jones. Yeah, that's a fun one to mess up. It would have been so much more fun if James Earl Jones rolled in the fourth one instead of, which was that Nick Jonas? Yeah, that would have been way more fun. They could have like cross promoted with Disney and he could have had the helmet on. Oh, it would have been great. See, I want to be in charge of this sort of advertising because I would come up with way better stuff. And so I want to shout out Andrew. Andrew's got a great comment here. I want to shout out Andrew for making this episode happen. This one was 100% him. I had nothing to do with it other than saying I would like to have him on the show. Andrew says, I personally surprised at how different the episode was from what I expected it to be. And I think anybody who comes in expecting one thing from this episode is going to get something really different. Um, I'm going to ask all of you to share this episode, and I'm going to be really honest about why. This one's going to stir the pot, and I don't mind capitalizing on pot stirring to get people to realize what we do. I thought, Andrew thought, that I handled it well. And if people see that I can handle an interview like this well, maybe they will stick around for other things that we do. So there's the hope. So if you can share that episode, I think that'd be pretty cool. It is in video. We did release a video version of this. It's on YouTube. This was the episode that I was recording where my computer died. And it was the first time we ever had that happen during a recording. So that's what prompted buying that thing over there, which is what I record from now. But we were able to fix it. Julius did a good job in editing. And there it is. You know, it's the two of us talking. So, what's going on today? One of my meetings is canceled. But the irony is the client who canceled the meeting, there was another meeting that we generally have, but I have to take that meeting and I have to do all the work and prep. Normally we split it up. It's like, all right, I'm taking off and you're doing all of it. Okay, thanks. Thanks for the faith. Actually, we did have a call. Was it last week? And there's a pretty solid venture or aspect of the business that is fairly new. And I've been speculating that it was kind of built around me. And he pretty much said that, not in those words, but during the meeting last week said, this part's all you. I'm just here to support. Oh, it's your business. Thanks. Has to do with marketing and some messaging stuff. That's something I'm pretty good at. Take care, Andy. Yeah, I think this is my Valentine today. This cup of coffee. I have a firearms lesson tonight. I'm excited for that. And in between, just a ton of work. There's just a lot of work that's got to get done. So I'll do it because it's what I do. Coffee's good. All right. What did you guys get me to talk about? All right. Frank sent over some stuff. Shout out and thank you as always to Frank. And there's a question in the Facebook page from Josh. Shout out to Josh. All right. Let's go here first. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. What do you love most about the martial arts? And I would love for all of you to kind of chime in on these too. What I love most is, you know, this might have been the first like quote unquote quote that I made. Ooh, it's warming up. That it's like 2 degrees outside. That I started saying on the show, and it kind of led to a lot of other things. And that is, martial arts gives back exactly and only what you put in. And I love that because it means you really can't, there's no shortcut for time. There's no shortcut for investment. It means that you can put in a lot of different things and have a lot of different things come out. And I think that's great. I was talking, I think it was at Mark's on Saturday, and brought up the example I could play basketball. I could work 3 times harder. I could play, practice, drill 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, and still not be as good as someone who is 6'4". But martial arts, because there are different directions we can take it, because we value it in different ways, means what comes back out can be very different depending on what goes in. And it's that direct correlation that I really love the most, because it means there's no substitute for working hard. Stacy says, I love the people I've met in terms of the truly martial arts related forms. Awesome. There's no wrong answer. What do you love? I love a lot of things about the martial arts. You know, if you're watching or listening to this, you know that. I don't need to convince you. Martial arts is pretty awesome. That's why I feel so blessed that I get to teach and train and hang out with and talk to so many great martial arts. Andrew says community. That's a good one. Tommy says martial arts, the longest and most successful relationship I ever had. Ooh. Yeah. That is definitely my case as well. All right, next. What do you love most about whistlekick? Well, I love that whistlekick is a movement, a mission, whatever word we want to throw in there, that other people get. That it's not just a business, that it's not just about me, that it's not just about money. It's about all these things, but it's also about some much bigger stuff. I spend more time noticing what's going on around, you know, what other people are putting out, what other companies are putting out for content. And they're doing it solely for likes and comments and, you know, engagement, for these metrics. How are you making the martial arts world better? I don't think there's anybody that looks at what we do and questions why we do it. Whether or not they like it, whether or not it works for them, whether or not they're going to spend their time or their money on it, it's fine. But I think we pretty clearly define what and why we do. I like that. Oof. Look at this. All right. Jenny says, yes, forms is my favorite thing to train and perform and analyze and. But the moment you asked me to say what I love most, I actually got a lump in my throat. It made me emotional. Martial arts has become such a part of me, and I can't live without it. I love the person I've become because of it. That last sentence specifically. I love the person I've become because of martial arts. That I can certainly say. Stacy says, "Oh, and that it feeds my knowledge base." People are agreeing. I think there are a lot of us who look at these things similarly. We get it, right? We're on the same page, more or less. Dennis says, the best thing about whistlekick is this: the enduring friendships that have been created through First Cup, through training day, and everything whistlekick does to bring together martial artists of all ranks, styles, and experiences with a passion to improve themselves and improve others. Oh. Yeah. pretty good. In less than 2 weeks, I will be on vacation. Can you believe that? I'm looking around, started pulling stuff together. Kind of crazy. People are agreeing with how Dennis phrased that, for sure, as they should be. And then the last one, what do you love most about the great outdoors? I have a strong fundamental belief that the majority of our, let's group them as challenges in modern society, come from not just in avoidance of nature, but an active attempt to disconnect from nature. Not just a ignorance to the fact that we are part of nature, but a what I would term an arrogant MO that actively excludes nature. And when I go into nature, when I go hiking, is probably the best example. I don't have any problems. I'm there, I'm present, I'm grateful, I have purpose. And all of those things go away. What am I most excited to do when I'm in Belize? Walk around. I won't be hiking because the only places I could kind of hike are in the jungles. And you know what? Not doing solo in the jungles. There are enough big cats that can take me down if the big snakes don't get to me first. I'm not doing that solo. And not exactly going to be able to bring the things that I would feel prepared to undertake an event like that solo. So I will be walking. And that's kind of my version of that. Flat ground walking. But to be out there, to be in the water or in the trees, to be reminded of that connection and its existence, whether we deny it or not. That is my favorite thing. You guys are being really nice, and I'm a little embarrassed. I'm not going to read these things on screen, but let's just say people are being very kind to me. Tommy agrees. Not a place to go solo. No. Nope. Not without full gear and maybe some accessories that are not permitted. Not only not on the plane, but I think in the country. It's a very safe country. All right. And lastly, but not leastly, Josh offers some feedback to me on Belize, and then he says, and here's a martial arts topic. Obviously, being in a training hall with other students and a teacher live is best, but in some cases, there may not be any teachers near where you live. What do y'all think about long distance training? Years ago, there were just books and the Panther Productions home study courses on VHS tape. There are many other options now. Do you think experiments that schools did with Zoom classes during the past 2 years will stick around, or was it temporary? For those who ran online classes, what did you find good about them? What did you not like? So we got three questions in there. Is it going to stick around? What are the ups? What are the downs? I think in a lot of schools, they are using Zoom differently now than they were. I think for a lot of schools, they've stopped entirely, but it's an asset. There is something there. There's a reason to do it. For example, I'm exploring what opening martial arts school looks like for me, Zoom has a place, and some of that place is involves distance. Is it possible some people will be less engaged because they're choosing to do that versus coming into class? But I don't know too many people who are going to repeatedly choose to attend an online class when they could go down the street to the same school. The energy's not the same. And this is where the ups and the downs come in. It is far more convenient. And if you look at schools where people are traveling, or maybe it's a school that has a healthy teen population, and every year a good chunk of kids go off to college, and you see them, over breaks, and that's it. Well, here's an option to keep them engaged. What about the inevitable illnesses, whether current ones or future ones, or just minor ones? Options are usually a good thing in the marketplace. A martial arts school is a business. Offering options is usually a good thing. How you specifically implement those side by side, I think, gets a little more complicated as time goes on. But my expectation is that people will be able to train my classes, our classes, when it's ready. Because why not? Andrew says, we are only doing Zoom classes when the instructor or himself are quarantined. Tommy says, my Zoom classes ended as soon as I could. Oh, Tommy's thing that he loves most about martial arts, Kali skills, and oh no, I think he's talking about something else. His Kali skills and a machete at least. For those of you who have schools, I would encourage you to consider that online classes are an additional way to reach and to reinforce what you're doing. The fact that you can record them while you're doing it is even better. There's a lot there. There's some good stuff there. It's yet another thing that I will figure out for myself when it comes time, and share what I learned with everyone else, because that's what to do. I want to go back to bed because it was almost 11 when I went to sleep, and now I'm sleepy. All right. The other part of Josh's question about the ups and the downs, the pros and cons of online. There are so many people now who have the ability to train with a specific person and or a specific art that they did not have before. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that most people were uncomfortable being online. They didn't understand what Zoom was. They had a feel like they kind of knew what Skype was, but it didn't have any kind of a professional it didn't appear professional to people. And so our advice kind of collectively used to be around, well, if you want to train, what's in your area? And there were people who would not train. Oh, I really want to do this particular martial art, but I can't find it in my area. I think for a lot of those people, that was just an excuse. But now, okay, well, what do you want to train? There's somebody out there teaching it online. What are you waiting for? And I think the cons to online training, I think we all know what they are. The energy's not the same. And the feedback from the instructor is never going to be quite the same because you can't see people in the same way. I'm not going to be able to observe too many people from the back and what's going on with their rear leg and their stances and things like that online, because most of them are not going to turn around and face away from the camera. And even if they do, it's hard to look, even if you've got Zoom running through a big TV or whatever. It's not the same, but it's way better than nothing. And I think it's a wonderful tool as an intermediary between in-person training. Dennis says, I did Zoom classes for a full year after New York had us closed down for 2 weeks in March of 2020. And this is a great example. So Jenny says, I'm the only person still training on Zoom. My instructor is a saint for allowing me to keep it up. Hoping to return to the dojang this year, but Zoom classes have been a blessing for this stay-at-home mom of a toddler. Yeah, this is a good example. Well, pre-Zoom or non-Zoom, what are you going to do? How many other people are there out there who fit this description? And you could say, well, it's not a priority. Well, okay, but we all have a lot of priorities. Would you rather create an environment where people have the opportunity to train or not? I'm a big fan of giving people opportunities. And she adds, Matt still hosts Zoom classes for his students at his school as well. Helps for a lot of different scenarios that used to keep people out of training. Tommy says, Zoom was difficult for me because I wasn't able to interact, which is a huge part of my teaching style. I can relate. I believe there's a place for it in most schools and instructors. What did Kelly say? Kelly says, I continue to do Zoom private classes to work on patterns if a student wants some extra help. I have continued to use some strategies that I developed during my Zoom classes, certain warm-ups, and created a patterns feud game. Is that like Family Feud? Sounds interesting. Well, it's time. That's some great feedback. I appreciate everybody chiming in on this and on everything else. I appreciate you coming by. Check out today's episode of Martial Arts Radio with Frank Dukes. Let us know what you think. You can email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com. I posted it on Facebook personally already, so if you want, you can share it right from there. Yeah, this could be a big one for us. Could catch us some attention. Hopefully, most of it will be positive. If you want to support us, remember, you've got a bunch of things you can do. You've got the Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick. You've got the code FIRSTCUP15 at whistlekick.com for all the things we've got over there. Over the weekend, I discovered a handful more things that we're going to make. Oh, I'm super excited. But if you want the full list, it's whistlekick.com/family. Remember, we do the show every weekday, 6:30 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time on Facebook, on YouTube, and then other platforms. Like today, we're on Twitter. And if you've got stuff that you want to contribute to the show, there's always a place over on Facebook for you to drop your questions or comments. And of course, you can email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com. I appreciate all of you. I hope you have a great day, no matter what's going on. Come on, laptop, respond. There we go. Good stuff. Thank you all. Thanks for coming by. Thanks to Frank and Josh for giving me stuff to talk about. Take care. I'll see you soon. Hopefully tomorrow. Peace.